So now we've talked a little bit about the trends that are driving the increases that we are seeing in corporate marketing and social initiatives. And we've talked about the different ways that they manifest themselves in the marketplace. Now let's do a little bit of technique. And really the starting, so let's take a little poll here, instant poll. On a 3-point scale, we really do almost nothing in cause marketing or in marketing and corporate social initiatives. We're doing some. We've taken some steps. It's okay, or there's a lot of room for improvement. Or we are the masters of this, and I wish Hessekiel would get off the stage because I could give this presentation better. How many of you are we're really beginners? Okay, a few. How many are you somewhere in the middle? How many of you want to take over? Okay, come on up. And I recognize, I've been very thrilled to see people from some of the groups that we've even honored at the Cause Marketing Forum. The first thing we have to talk about is why. Why do you even want to do this? And this is for those people who are thinking about getting into it or who just aren't really satisfied with where they're at. So a couple of reasons. Why would a group why would they want to get into working with corporations? Why would a group?
Because it aligns your brand with the organization, so it's an opportunity to use marketing dollars to be pushed socially with them.
Why would a nonprofit want to get involved, to be the beneficiary of?
Because it helps you identify yourself with a brand new audience. And
Great.
It markets your brand.
What's another reason? Very base. Why work with corporate America?
Money.
Thank you.
You can align yourself with companies that actually have the same marketing. So, for example, Make-A-Wish Foundation, mothers with young children. So, String Cheese or an organization that is their exact same market. Scrapbook and pieces.
So it broadens your reach to your target market. Yeah. So I mean, among the things that I came up with: funding, marketing resources, volunteers, access to expertise, skilled volunteerism can be tremendous value add, in-kind contributions, employee giving. Lots of different reasons why a nonprofit would think it could be attractive to work with corporate America. That's clear. Different groups, however, have very different answers to the analysis of how big is the opportunity. And it's really, really important to think about this. If you have an issue of mass consumer appeal, this can be a much more powerful driver of revenue and resources than if you have a nonprofit that works with an orphan disease that is almost unheard of, that very few people can relate to. If you work on a particularly divisive issue, can anybody say reproductive rights or gun control? These, other than saying we're willing to write off half of the population, because we know that everybody who buys our product is on one side of those very divisive issues. Those groups are going to have a very tough time finding any corporate partners who want to publicly identify them. So one is your issue of appeal? Is your issue a fit with the business sector? And as you were saying, for a group whose supporters are often moms, there's a huge number of potential ways of fitting in. And the fit can be because you relate to the products that are produced, because you relate to the demographic of their customer. It could be that you relate to the history of the company. Lots of different ways, but you do have to analyze, is there a fit with a significant business sector? Another thing, to thine own self be true. Are you able, culturally, to work with business. If your CEO is the kind of person who walks the halls going, we got to give it to the man, this is probably not a good way of going. Because many people have entered the nonprofit world. You're all very mission-oriented. But some find that their mission, and this often comes with environmental groups, can be at odds with working with corporate America, or there would be so many restrictions in what you could do or who you could work with or how you might be able to be seen with them that it may really limit your opportunities. Do you have assets? If nobody knows about you, if you've got no events, if you've got no intellectual property, if you've got nothing that could be useful in working with a corporation, other than the fact that you are a deserving group because you're doing good work, you're going to have a tough time competing in the marketplace. So those are some things that you really need to assess, because even though I make my living by talking about the opportunity, I would hate to see, I don't sell this, I would hate to see people waste their time by pursuing something that is not the best way for them to be investing their time. It is not one size fits all. There are great opportunities, but one has to assess them, because once you do the assessment, if you see that there is a fit, you got to figure out what you're willing to do. Sometimes you get lucky, and that can almost be a curse, because sometime a corporation may, or their agency may have come up with a big idea, and they figured out that, Acme nonprofit organization would be a great fit for them, and they want to do the right thing, and they're going to give you $500,000 to do almost nothing, and they're going to give you the money, and that sometimes happens. There sometimes are poorly put together, ill-conceived, well-intentioned corporate forays into cause marketing. And it's great for that first year, and then you develop a culture where you go, oh, that's cause marketing. That's what it means to build corporate alliances. And then the next year the phone doesn't ring, and you go, oh, well, we better knock on a couple of doors, but you're not really set up to be marketing yourself or even to implement if tough things are being asked of you. So you've got to do the assessment. Is your leadership bought in? And are they willing to make a long-term commitment? I'm sure Julia and those who are involved with this will tell you the sell-in period, the partnership development period, is long in most cases. Many relationships, like that Sam Adams example of Sam Adams brewing the American Dream, will start small, and so you won't be able to go and say, hey, we got $500,000 in year one. It could be that you do something small in Boston to check it out, to see whether there's a fit, and eventually it grows. You need to be a serious player to have a staff that is, this is job one. And it's not only a staff that can speak the talk and make the relationships, but who'll actually deliver on what you've promised. Because the last thing you want to do is promise the world, get a big commitment, and bomb, and have a company say that they would never go back to you and be bad-mouthing you and setting you back. You have to be willing to make a marketing investment. You need a development investment. You need to be able to figure out how headquarters and local chapters would work together. Who gets credit if it comes in from the field? All sorts of issues like that. How do you coordinate internally? I'm not here to be turning you off. I'm only here to say, like anything else that your organization does, it needs to be thought out and done well to succeed long term. So another technique is to have this mindset of thinking in terms of raising your hand and saying, we can do this, not simply going into a meeting and say, you should be giving to us because we're a really good cause. Because every cause here, I imagine, is a really deserving group. But only only certain ones are going to make these relationships, and it's not, when you're talking about corporate alliances that are designed to be mutually beneficial and impacting the bottom line of the company as well as your social mission, it's not enough just to be deserving. So what do companies want? It's a long list. Brand loyalty increases, awareness and visibility of their good works in the environment. Retail support is huge. They may simply say, we think that that this program could increase selling. Yoplait, which has done for years Save Lids to Save Lives, they know that they created a new seasonality to yogurt. When they do those pink lids, it's amazing how yogurt jumps off the shelves. They may have new products that they want to sample, or have a product that they know can develop new customers if new people try it. They may, as Chris was talking about, be looking to find ways to make working at Acme Company more meaningful and increase morale, motivation, retention, productivity, etc. They may be doing something where they really are repairing a reputation, or improving a reputation, or building up reputational credit, so that when something happens unforeseen, they've got a little bit more of a deposit in the trust bank account, and people don't just think of them as that evil company. They go, well, they've been trying, and you know what? Sometimes these things happen. So, if you're willing to make the investment, if you're willing to think about what corporations want as well as what your needs are, then give that thought to creating an empowered team, creating internal policies that define what you will do and what you won't do. Very, very key. It's very, very liberating to have that straight. If you're working with corporations, this is one area where culturally there are often clashes. Once you've come to a decision to work together and a program has to be in the market at a certain time, you can't have a 3-month turnaround time on deciding how big the logo can be. You've got to figure out how to work with them and give the room to operate to those people who are responsible for the program. You need to either package up what you've got and make it available and attractive so that you can see it in the marketplace, or maybe invest in creating a stronger brand or signature programs that engage your members or supporters or followers. Identify and maybe do market research to show the strength that you have with an attractive demographic group. Create a signature program. The March of Dimes, I've got friends who work there, and they have been struggling with this for years, and they've just launched, after years of work, a campaign that tries to identify them with Mother's Day and Father's Day, and owning that time period, and a campaign called I'm Born To. Analyze your intellectual property, your communication channels, and other assets to see where you can go. And of course, your ability to engage volunteers. And if you're lucky enough to have a team that is powerful with social media, everybody is trying to figure that out. And if you can actually be partners and leverage that asset, that can make you very, very attractive. And then you've got to get out there. Because one of the crazy, maddening things about this particular field is that there is no calendar where you know the day on which the companies will be saying, we need a new cause marketing partner, and so everybody should line up and get in the door. It happens through a wide variety of circumstances, and if you haven't gotten onto their radar screen in some way when that day occurs, then you may miss it. So you have to invest in developing relationships, in seeding the marketplace so that you have an opportunity to be considered, and then you have the power to act. You've got to kiss a lot of frogs to find that prince. So again, some of this is basic development or sales techniques. Identify those prospects that you see a linkage with, whether it's industry or imagery, the history, as we were talking with Sam Adams, what their philanthropic endeavors are about, or their people. Identify door openers, such as board members or supporters or staff or agencies or your Uncle Lou, who can get you in to start having that conversation. Network and make a name for yourself. And again, key, since you can't be everywhere and you can't be on every door, if you become known as a player in this field, it will stand you in good stead. Again, use elevator pitch 101 concepts to be able to quickly encapsulate, if you happen to find yourself in the right place at the right time with somebody who's a prospect, something that is intriguing enough that they'd want to have another conversation. Make sure that you know how to speak the language of business, so that when you get in and to a meeting and somebody talks about supermarket merchandising, you know what that means. And this is why it's interesting that a fair number of people have made transitions from for-profit to nonprofit, or have been hired to at least help educate teams as to speaking the language of business and having insights that can pay off in meetings with potential corporate allies. Be sure that you know how to describe how aligning with your organization can help achieve its goals. And then deliver. Because as I said before, if you've identified that there's a marketplace, you've identified that it's worth going after, you've done the homework, you've got to be able to deliver. It's very tempting to overpromise, but if you do, it'll bite you every time. Oh yeah, that was my big effect. I could do that again if you want. There we go. The good news, after me being the guy who's saying how tough it is and all the things you've got to do, the good news is that we are amazed at how many organizations every year, we have something called the Cause Marketing Halo Awards at the Cause Marketing Forum, and every year we give away 18 different awards for different types of campaigns. And every year we see new players who've never won before, players that we didn't even know about, coming out of the woodwork, folks who are going through this process and succeeding. Do Something is certainly not a stranger to this area, but in its present incarnation, how old is, in the Nancy Lublin era, how old is Do Something, George?
I guess you could call it late 2008.
Yeah, so, I mean, it had a renaissance, and it has now taken a beachhead and really become a great player in communicating and motivating teens into civic engagement. They've developed a program over the years with Aeropostale called Teens for Jeans, where kids are moved to donate jeans and get saving certificates at Aeropostale. They collect last year, or I guess it ended up this year, over 500,000 pairs of jeans. Does great things for the chain, but if the chain had only just put up signage in their stores and didn't have Do Something using its communication channels to get the word out, to get high school clubs involved, to get fraternities and sororities at college campuses involved, they would not have been able to achieve what they have over the last 4 years. And this is a preview. Don't tell anybody, but they're winning an award at our next conference, which is next week. Toys R Us, for the first time last year, teamed up with the Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation. You guys ever heard of Alex's Lemonade? Very touching story of a young girl who had, I believe it was a brain tumor. In her short life, she started raising money so other kids cures could be found for these terrible diseases. And she raised it by having lemonade stands, and her parents created a foundation that encourages other kids to do that. They teamed up with Toys R Us. They did numerous events in stores, used multiple channels to get the word out. And in their first year, through corporate donations as well as money given through these efforts, raised $1.5 million, which is the first time that a corporate partner of that charity had ever raised $1 million or more. Barefoot Wine, moderately priced wine brand that is very into the surf and beach culture, playing off of its name, Barefoot Wine, has worked for about 5 years with the Surfrider Foundation, and they do beach cleanups. They're winning an award, and that's new to our group. And then Souls for Souls teamed up with Halogen TV, a narrowcast cable network that has a lot of giving back built into its DNA. They did a corporate collection with Comcast and the San Diego Padres, in which they collected shoes in the San Diego area. First time they'd ever entered, and they won. So there is room. But if you look at these groups, Do Something is able to move teens to action. Alex's Lemonade Stand has this incredible imagery and story and a brand that is far bigger than probably their annual revenue would make you think. Surfrider has a network of chapters of ecologically oriented people who live on the coasts that they can activate. Souls for Souls has this ability to find new purposes for footwear, and it's a very understandable, easily engageable consumer or even employee motivating tool.